Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Podcast, presented by DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook. Make sure you download their app and then use the promo code CHGO when you sign up. Luke Stuckmeyer, Ryan Herrera is in San Diego and may be able to join us, or maybe he's getting on a plane. We don't totally know yet. Cody Del Mendo and Corey Friedman. And the baseball winter meetings are wrapping up, and the Cubs still don't have a shortstop. The chat is already going because the anxiety level has gone from here to here to here, and the tension is ready to explode in this studio. Cody walked in today. I could see the anger on his face. Corey walked in. I could see the anger on his face. I looked in the mirror this morning, anger on the face. Why? Because now, tell me this much, guys. Go ahead and admit it. Everything I told you was going to happen has happened. They let Judge go off the board, and the prices for all these guys that they want at shortstop are going up past what they're comfortable with.
Than to not listen to you, Stuckey. That's the message.
Mistake number one. I did not
always listen to Stuckey.
Clip that.
This is the only time I will smile on today's show.
It's maddening because nobody thought Xander Bogaerts was getting 11 years. What was it, 280?
Yeah.
280 from the Padres. Nobody thought it was going to be that, but that's what happens when people set aside $400 million for Aaron Judge, and then they still have that money, and they feel unsatisfied at the winter meetings.
Well, and this was always the fear, right? Is we knew it would at some point come down to, okay, will Jed go out of his comfort zone and do a long-term deal,
right?
More years than he's comfortable with, or will he,
go out of his comfort zone and more AAV,
plant his flag and say, no, I'm not going to do that. And what you're seeing right now is, there's still two shortstops left, so we'll see, right?
We're halfway to Collada.
The thing about the Bogaerts thing that's so concerning is that was always something that was possible, right? Somebody can go nuts. And then you see the stuff out of Boston that is exactly the stuff you're fearing, right? Where the Red Sox, Bogaerts wanted to stay in Boston. He wanted to go back to them and have them make another offer, but they were so far apart from what A.J. Preller in San Diego offered them that he felt he had no choice but to take the deal. That's what one of the Boston Red Sox reporters put out there. He felt like he had no choice. That's always the fear, that if Jed is trying to get a deal he believes, as they always say, is intelligent, well, somebody might do something that's dumb. But guess what? They're going to get the star shortstop, and you're going to be left trying to sell your fans that you tried really hard.
And those deals that seemed dumb before, and not even dumb, some of them, that just seemed, wow, that's not in the Cubs bank account. The Bryce Harpers, the Manny Machados, those deals where you looked at it and thought, wow, he'd be looking nice in a Cubs uniform. They all look outrageously affordable now compared to the deals that are coming. So the deals that you're going to have to overspend for now, most likely in 2 years, you look at it and go, well, that's cheaper than what you're paying for those guys today. So, at some point, you got to spend the money. At some point, you have to act like Chicago, the city of big shoulders. Stop letting San Diego push you around. Stop letting the Texas Rangers push you around. Come on. And it's still possible. I understand it, Cody. It's still possible. If they get Correa today, we take it all back and we say, wow, that was a great offseason, no matter what they do after that.
Well, they
or if they get
the
Dansby
pressure,
and somebody else, same thing. It's still possible. But they're getting closer and closer to meltdown point.
The thing is, Luke, and you have basically hinted at it, is that the Cubs, the Chicago Cubs, top 3 market team in the city that you just explained, they could have had Correa last offseason for cheaper. You could have had him last year. And now he is going to get even more. And the Cubs have to do it. And if they don't, I will, for the first time in my life, tell everyone, if the Cubs, barring that the Cubs pull something out of their ass and somehow give us something that we get excited about. But But if they don't get Correa or even Swanson, then I don't know if that's even going to happen. But for the first time in my life, I will then get on the board of do not go to beautiful, historic Wrigley Field next season, even though they already had the lowest ticket prices or ticket sales since 1997. Like, if they fuck this up again, then I will not encourage people to go to where I love to go every summer. I cannot support or encourage that if the Cubs fuck this up again. And that's what pisses me off the most, is because the Cubs were in great position to put a winning product out there. You sign Cody Bellinger, who has high upside. You sign a pitcher that has high upside, and you're looking great. But to let what's happened since then happen without still getting the big star, you are setting yourself up for failure again and again. And yes, Luke, the Harper deal, the Machado deal, they look incredible right now, and the Cubs could have done it. I don't care that Jason fucking Hayward was making $25 million a year. I don't care, Tom. I don't care, Jed. I don't care about your intelligent spending, dude. I don't care.
How many $300 million players do the Cubs have right now?
None.
Zero. The Padres have Tatis, $340 million. Machado, $300 million. Xander Bogaerts, $280 million. Soto's going to get probably $500 million when he hits the free agent market. They've got Yu Darvish, who we couldn't afford. Now, I don't disagree with any of the stuff. Trading guys, rebuilding the farm system. But you cannot, if their plan is to simply win with prospects and wait for those prospects to turn into real major leaguers, you're fooling yourselves. It didn't happen last time that way. And you got lucky on all of the prospects.
You got
Chris Bryant was probably the one that you were like, for sure.
On the timing
but you're never sure.
of everything.
You're never sure. They all came up and they all did it.
Right at the same time.
At
and
the
most
same
of them
time,
didn't last that long.
That's right.
Right.
But forget the fact that they didn't last that long. They got there and they won the World Series with their young prospects. But guys, they didn't do it without John Lester. And Lester was the linchpin. He was the first piece.
Ben Zobrist.
Yep.
He came next. And then who comes
Fowler.
after that? Dexter Fowler comes.
Fowler.
Why do those guys come? Because
John Lackey.
They see the prospects are coming, but they already saw that John Lester did it. And I know you already had moves to get Lester because you had some guys there that he believed in, and they could sell him on it. Well, this time you're going to have to do that selling point with cash. More cash than anybody else is going to spend because, A, you can't count on the prospects to always be ready to go right out of the way. Example, Chicago White Sox. There's your example. They're not all ready. They're not all great, and they're not going to win unless they spend money. The Sox have blown it too, don't get me wrong, but this is the Cubs podcast. The Cubs need to get that guy to convince the next free agents and those prospects that are in AAA and AA right now to show them we are serious about one thing, winning. Winning. And if you continue to let them believe like, well, it's okay to be below 500 and we traded away at the deadline, you can't.
You also just had two prospects at the top of your list deal with injuries, right? One in Canario, rather serious. One in Davis that you're hoping isn't serious, but has certainly thrown his status and how soon he's going to be hopefully making his debut and starring at the MLB level into question, right? So you can't rely on that, even if you want to. If you strike out on this, you're going to be left holding in your hand fiscal responsibility. But then to deliver on all these promises, right? Improving the offense, adding power, making a competitive team, right? You can do it. But good luck with figuring that out. You've made your job so much harder. Executing those trades, trading prospects,
all of it.
Filling in those holes from other teams is very difficult. You know what's not difficult? Handing Carlos Correa a check and putting him at shortstop for the next 8 to 10 years. Just do it. And we also are in the territory now where if you don't have an aggressive offseason, right, and there's still time, they're still there, we'll see what happens. But if you don't do this, all this other stuff has been a complete load of bullshit,
right?
It is a rebuild. It would be 3 years.
Yeah. I didn't even touch on that.
It is a rebuild.
Well,
it already is.
We know it's a rebuild, but the rebuild should be over.
Yes. But I'm saying they've been trying to sell us on, we're not calling it a rebuild. It's not going to be like the last time. It would be the same timeline. It would be the same number of years.
It was a restocking of the farm system is what it should have been, not a rebuild.
And they did a good job of that. But now is the time to go. Yes. The free agent class next year is not as good. And don't even start with me on maybe they're saving it for Ohtani. Why on earth would we believe that right now?
Yeah. Ohtani.
And good luck.
Hell, the Angels might just pay him.
Right, good luck hoping that he even makes the market. But why on earth would he's going to get $1 billion. We should believe that they're going to do that.
Yes. If we're not going to pay Carlos Correa... if we're going to sit here and try and bargain with Carlos Correa, how can we talk ourselves into Ohtani?
Right.
Guys, these are the Chicago Cubs.
Yes.
Wrigley Field prints cash when you're good. Prints money. They should just have the Cubs logo in the middle of it for the $100 bills. Yeah. They are printing money when they are good. So if you're looking at this and you're saying, okay, well, they're saving for Ohtani. No, the Dodgers are over there probably saving for Ohtani. So...
Well, the Dodgers are a good team, though, and they have guys there.
They're already a team that could win the World Series.
The Dodgers can afford to, quote-unquote, take this free agency off because they have good players, and they have spent in free agency in recent years, right? The Cubs, I have just asked to be in the wild card chase next season. That is all I've asked.
That's the other thing. We're not even asking for anything.
We do not have high expectations for next year. But if you want to get to that point, you have to make the John Lester move. Yeah. And the thing that makes me so angry about the entire scenario is that you could have just got Correa cheaper last offseason. And now you definitely, not only are you going to have to pay him more money, you're going to have to give him more years. There is no way this guy is taking less than 10 years. There's absolutely no way. Unless you pay like 40+ million AAV, which whatever, not my money. But how can I even talk myself into believing that Jed will do that after what just happened with Bogaerts? How can I talk myself into believing that? And this is someone who thinks optimistically 85% of the time.
Sometimes 86.
We're talking about me. We're talking about me in terms of how I think about how they run things and how I sit here and I don't agree with Michael Collada more often than not. And now I'm sitting here and I have gone full meatball. I have gone full meatball. Because the Cubs put themselves in this position now. And again, if they get it done, like Luke said at the very beginning, if they get it done, fine, great. I take it all back. But again, even when that contract comes out and we hear and we see that money and everything in the years, we're still going to sit here and think, well, they probably could have got him on a better contract last year. In which then you're just like, congratulations, Carlos Correa. You are a very smart person.
Well, and I don't think
they're going to, if they got Correa right now, they would pay more for him than they would have last year, or they pay more for him than they would have if they signed him 4 days ago.
Yeah.
So that part is their own problem. But they still have a chance to right the ship on this and go and get one of those two guys. But I said the Dodgers are probably saving for Ohtani, right? Ohtani and Soto are going to probably hit free agency. Great. Do you think the Cubs are going to be the team that's going to go spend the money to go get those guys? Yeah. You're going to be competing against the Dodgers. The Yankees will be back in the mix. Padres will probably reload again and let some of those guys get away. They'll be back in the mix. Right now, there are teams that still need shortstops. The Giants have an aging Crawford at shortstop. They had $400 million set aside for Aaron Judge. They still want a shortstop. Okay, there's only 2 on the market that you want. If the Braves lose Dansby Swanson and he goes to somebody else and you're only left with Correa, who do you think the Braves are going after? The Dodgers lost Turner. They still might want a shortstop. So don't think the Dodgers aren't in on this. So the bidding war is getting worse and worse and worse. The problem is you've got to spend the money. You have to be uncomfortable with the deal. We're all going to feel uncomfortable with the deal, but that's the way it's got to be now.
Yeah.
Because that's the bed you made.
And I think, just looking at some of the chat stuff, we know that the offseason is not over. There's still stuff, but I think we're not saying that it's over. But they deserve to have this fire lit under them. They deserve to have this pressure because the way that it looks right now is unacceptable. They
goes,
need
you know
to feel the pressure.
It looks like when the Sox said they were going after Manny Machado, and then you went back and we found out their offer was $60 million below everybody else. And it's like, were you really going after Manny Machado?
Right.
Or were you just saying you were going after Manny Machado?
They need
offers are on the table. How good are the offers?
The fire should be lit under them.
They have to do what Steinbrenner did. They've got to say, we'll give you another year and we'll give you another $40 million.
Yeah.
And if he says not enough, then you say, all right, we'll give you another year and we'll give you another $50 million.
Now, I will say this regarding the Bogaerts trade. Yes, the Padres are in a much better position to be able to give out that kind of contract. One, I think Luke said it earlier, there's no guarantee that Juan Soto is going to be there in 2 years, right?
No.
And then number two, Machado might opt out. So, again, if I'm the Cubs, would I have given Bogaerts 11 years, $280? Absolutely not. But the fact of the entire point, though, is that you could have had a Correa for cheaper before that deal was made, and that's genuinely why I'm upset. That's like it's shaping up into like us looking back and thinking, wow, things could have gone differently if we just would have acted better.
And here's where the anxiety comes from too. I mentioned all those teams. I forgot about the Red Sox. The Red Sox just lost their guy.
Right.
You don't think they're looking at it and going, well, maybe Correa's a better player. Maybe we should just give that money to Correa and make it a bigger deal.
Right.
The Red Sox need a guy.
I think
maybe they go Dansby.
You also get to a point, and we've talked about a lot of these guys. You mentioned Bryce and Machado contracts. Like, we're also at the point where the list of players that, like, the timing just hasn't been right for the Cubs, or the contract was too big. The list is really long, you guys. And, like, at certain times, I understood it. I wasn't happy about it, but I knew what they were doing. I know the realities of this being a business, et cetera, et cetera. But this list is getting really long of players that they should have been in on over the last several years that are now just on other teams. And when Bryce Harper is in 5 years and he's still in the middle of that huge contract, if he's riding around the streets of Philadelphia hosting World Series parades, are any of those Philadelphia fans going to give a shit? We'll go back to Jason Hayward. When Jason Hayward was riding around the streets of Chicago and heading into Grant Park with the World Series trophy clutched in his arms, were you sitting in Grant Park thinking, well, that contract's going to be bad? And several years? No, who cares?
Right.
And like I see it in the chat too, where people are like, well, why did you believe the Cubs? Why did you think they were acting in good faith? Because this is the point where we figure out if this... Everybody's joked for like a few years, like, oh, they just want to act like the Rays, like they got their World Series. This is the part where we figure out if that's true, right? Because the trading and acquiring prospects, rebuilding the farm system, even though they could have spent money more during that time, it made sense. Their system wasn't good. They needed to do some of that stuff, whether we were happy about it or not. But at some point, we were told that it would flip, right? They would be back, right? And if we go into this offseason and fail, and you can go look at the graphic that I think Marquis put out yesterday with what the lineup looks like right now, good luck with that. Get a barf bag before you look at it, right?
Well,
if that's what they're trotting out there, then it was a rebuild. They're not serious about making offers on big-time players.
A rebuild.
And we shouldn't... Yeah, right.
That's what it's going to show you.
The same rebuild.
Yeah,
it's
the same rebuild is continuing for another year, and Bellinger would be now a trade chip at the end of the season. That's what would happen mid-season.
Yeah.
Right? So Bryce Harper, we mentioned that deal. Again, I want to pound this home. Bryce Harper changed the Phillies. He changed the Phillies. All those guys want to go there because Bryce Harper is there. The Phillies were in the World Series because they signed Bryce Harper and everybody else wanted to follow after him. And they have some young guys coming up too. Great. Both things can be true at the same time. You can restock the farm system, and then you can go spend money. You don't have to just sit there and wait for the prospects to come up before you spend your money. Right. What you need to do is let the prospects get close. I didn't have a problem with it not spending the big money last year. Stroman was nice. It was a decent offseason. I wasn't going to get angry about it. But now you're at the point where PCA is pushing AAA, and now you have Brendan Davis guys that are starting to push towards the major leagues. Don't let them come up and just look around and be part of a losing atmosphere. Yeah. Have them show up and have them look at Carlos Correa and say, this guy's going to show me how to be a champion. He's been a champion. Yeah. Right now, the only guy that can tell them how to do that is Kyle Hendricks.
Yeah.
You can't have an aging pitcher be your guy. Yeah. Like, when Lester came here, he wasn't an old guy at the end of his career.
Right. And to be clear, from my end at least, like, you guys can think differently on this. To me, this entire, like, if the Cubs really fuck this up, I will absolutely blame Jed Hoyer for this more so than Tom Ricketts. That's where I am on it. I think
that's what they would want you to do.
I think it is more on Jed Hoyer if they do not get this done. If they do not get this done, this is more on Jed Hoyer. Listen, we all talked about Tom Ricketts the other day openly saying that spend as much money as you want, whatever. And in a way, when you think about it, it's kind of a slap in the face because you should have been doing that the last 4 years. But again, I digress. But that's where I'm at. If Jed Hoyer messes us up again after not getting Correa last offseason, it leaves me wondering what if. And you know what? The only time in my sports fandom that I have ever thought what if is if the Bears had a quarterback in 2018 and if Derrick Rose didn't tear his ACL. And I hate thinking about that kind of shit. And this is where the Cubs have put me. They have put me in this scenario where I have to think about, well, what if they had signed Harper? What if they had signed Machado? And all these other scenarios. This, like you guys said, this is the time. This is the time to find out if this team cares about winning or not. If they care about putting their meat on the table and being a real freaking team, dude. Like, just frustrating because, like, it's almost like they needed the freaking 108-year curse to really want to put something out there. They tried year of me and Corey's, like, existence and Luke's, obviously. But, like, especially this century, after the Sosa era, you could tell that there were years where they tried to put something out there and win, and a lot of it really fucked up. But again, not the point. Well, at least you saw that they tried, and right now it just feels like we're trying to create our own thing in-house and not willing to go the extra mile to get the difference maker, the impact player.
When Sean mentioned this in the chat, and we talked about this before, like, I think they did pretty well on those trades of core guys, and we debated that, should they have done that, etc. He looks pretty correct on those moves, right? The Bryant deal doesn't look good. The Baez deal doesn't look good. Rizzo has been very good for the Yankees, but I think that's a very good situation for him that he fits very well into. But what we were talking about before is, like, if you nailed those trades, like, what's the point, you know?
Right.
If you did that to then just, like, wait around and, like, we're talking about these prospects, when is that exactly when those prospects are going to be ready?
But the only
PCA is 19 years old or 20 years old. When is that point? It is not like 2014 where it was really clear that all these guys, Baez, Bryant, Soler, Russell, Schwarber, they were all converging at the exact same time. Right? That's not what's happening here. You have guys spread through all these levels. And like I said, the top two of your top guys are dealing with injury problems right now. There is no guarantee, and there is definitely no clear timeline. I see people in the chat saying, oh, it's 2024 because they don't have any money. 2025. Which prospects is that? And how sure are you that that's all happening at the same time? There's no clear point where it's like, here's what they're waiting for. It's not like the last time, just because the prospects are good.
And the last time we were sold on like the entire thing about how the how bad the organization was internally. And Theo
was the savior.
Right.
We all trusted Theo, and we were willing to lose for a few years.
The one thing that's kept me, I guess, optimistic since they made all those trades at the deadline last year was that internally they are significantly better than then. So now you're better organizationally. Now, okay, how long is it until you spend some money to really get this team put back on the map? And on top of it, you let your best offensive player go to your rival. And again, I'm not upset about it. But again, the sole fact that happened, if you don't get anything done, like, it's just an absolute failure if they don't.
RWB in the chat is saying that Gordon Wittenmeyer and Cap are both saying contract offer is well north of $200 million. So he's just going to go out and say, all right, Jed has an offer of $280 million for 10 years or so, would bump it up from there. You can't be talking about Correa, because if they're getting Correa now, they're going to have to push $400. They're going to have to go close to what Judge got to get Correa. He was already making $35 million, guys, and he opted out because he wants big bucks. You're going to have to give Correa an average of at least $37 million, something close to Judge, $37, $38 million a year, or you're going to have to go over the $400 million mark.
Well, you have to beat, at minimum, you're going to have to beat those other two shortstops somewhere, right?
Yes.
He's either going to get a longer deal or he's going to get more money.
Yes.
Like, he's not going to settle for less than what
he's not
two
taking
guys
less than Bogaerts
who he's
got.
better than. Yeah,
no.
Right. If Bogaerts is getting 11 years, Correa can get whatever he wants, right? If he wants more years, if he wants a Brinks truck full of money, whatever he wants, because he's going to point to that and go, I'm way better than this guy, and he's older than me, so pay up. Somebody pay up.
In some ways, some things have not changed at all from where we were at the end of the season. So that part is worth looking at too. Like we said, going into this offseason, all right, so if they don't get one of the big shortstops, is it a bust? And everybody, to a man, said, yes, they have to get one of the shortstops. They have to get one of the shortstops. Well, you're halfway to missing out. You're halfway to missing out, so you're halfway to a disaster. Now, if you end up with Cody Bellinger in center and Mancini at first, and Tyone has been added to the rotation, and maybe they spend some money on Senga, guys, that's not enough. And don't get me with Murphy yet, because the Murphy move, if you made that trade and gave up major prospects, like their best guys.
Well, they want a major.
You have to do that
player.
after.
Let's bring in R.H. Herrera here.
Ryan is here?
Yes.
All right, Ryan Herrera.
You want to hit an ad read quick?
Yeah, let's hit the ad reads real fast. Let me get to it. Green Ridge Farm, a Chicago-based local meat and cheese company offering you a better all-natural option. Makers of all-natural deli meat, sausages, and their famous meat sticks, perfect for tailgating, happy hour, school lunches. All-natural meat sticks are hardwood smoked for 8 hours with 16 grams of protein per stick. They are perfect post-workout snack or for binge eating while you're stressing over the Cubs. Meat sticks come in chicken, Black Forest beef, flavors like jalapeno cheddar and spicy chili. If you haven't tried them yet, you don't know what you're missing. They're delicious because they are made from recipes that are generations in the making, and being all natural, they deliver a fresh, flavorful alternative at snack time. You can always find them in the refrigeration section at Costco, Sam's Club, or your Chicagoland grocery stores. And right now, when you order any 3 meat products at greenridgefarm.com, include a pack of meat sticks in your cart. Those meat sticks are free simply using the code CHGO at checkout. Green Ridge Farm, simply natural meat. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program, committed to helping families and businesses in their communities we serve save money and energy. ComEd offers free facility assessments that can find energy-saving opportunities, whether it's lighting, HVAC, commercial equipment for the kitchen, or industrial processes. An authorized engineer will work with you to develop a detailed assessment plan specific to your goals and your needs. They can be done in person or virtually. They'll last about 2 hours. And then within 3 to 4 weeks, customers receive a report that details energy efficiency projects that they can start working on right away. Each recommendation will be an estimated energy savings, cost savings, projected cost, potential incentives, and simple payback. Don't wait. Get started saving money and energy right now before the cold, cold winter hits. Energy saving tips. To schedule your free facility assessment, go to ComEd.com/poweringbiz. If you're ready to sign up for a facility assessment, you can also call them at 855-433-2700 during normal business hours to speak with a ComEd Energy Efficiency Program representative. Email businessee@comed.com or request an assessment online at their website, comed.com/facility assessment. Ryan Herrera is still in San Diego, correct?
Still in San Diego. We got the media room behind me, but
so you're saying there's a
wait,
chance.
Ryan.
I'm the only one here.
Ryan, there was a tweet last night from John Morosi saying that this was you and Brendan. Is this accurate?
That's them.
Yeah,
that is
actually.
them.
That is you guys after
They
a
went
night
out
out in San Diego last night at the Jersey swap?
Basically, yeah. Game, respect, game.
I love that Joey swapped the heights in that photo.
Why couldn't we?
That is true.
I needed this moment.
Was Brendan tall? I've never seen Brendan in person. He could be shorter than Ryan.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I had to come all the way to San Diego just to meet him for the first time.
But he's a real person.
Yeah, he is somehow.
Yeah.
He was pitch doctoring, I'll tell you that much, but he still pitch doctors out here in San Diego, but he is a real person. He's not just the cartoon head I wish Joey would bring that pitch doctor graphic he made months ago back up every once in a while. That was a good one. He's not a cartoon. He's a real person.
He's a real person.
I hope you gave him a ton of crap about not coming to the office yet.
Yeah, I did. I gave him enough for all of us. So, but you can still add on if you'd like.
Are there any GMs left? Is there any chance this is happening today? Like, are there still conversations going on? Because both the chat and the studio have an anxiety level now that some people are ready to vomit.
Well, I do know that the Cubs front office was gearing to leave yesterday. I would assume that a lot of the front offices have left, if any are even still around by now. So I do know we talked about, like, are the Cubs going to leave San Diego with the shortstop or leave San Diego with the shortstop? Technically they didn't, because they probably already back in Chicago by now. But I mean, that doesn't say that locking down a shortstop can't happen anymore. We know that they are, still in on Correa and Dansby Swanson. That is the, buzz around the winter meetings. That's a talk around town. Like, they're not giving up at all on that, on the pursuit of either one of those. Will it happen? It's going to be even harder now. You're seeing what, Trey Turner deal was crazy. The Xander Bogaerts deal blew me away. I was not expecting anything close to that. So now you're seeing what the market looks like for those shortstops. It's going to be tough, and the Cubs are going to have to go out of their comfort zone to get one of those shortstops. Like, if it takes 10 years to get Carlos Correa now, that may be it, and that may be more than what the Cubs came in wanting to give him. But you're seeing that Trey Turner and Xander Bogaerts both got 11 years, and they're older than him. So they're going to have to go out of their comfort zone to get one of those guys, and it remains to be seen if they will pull that trigger and make that deal.
I mean, I want to ask about all the other positions and names that they might fill with other guys, and we've seen that in the chat. But let's be honest, it's all about the shortstop. Like, all those other moves would be nice, but they would not signal that the rebuild is almost over. What would show the rebuild is almost over would be spending money on one of these shortstops. And I think you're right, Ryan. Like, it's what I've been saying. Like, they've done this to themselves by letting guys go off the board, by letting Judge go off the board, which trickled down to now other teams want to spend their money on a shortstop. Shortstop price is going up. I just don't. They're going to pay more than they would have had to pay 4 days ago. Do you think that's possibly true? Just having seen the Bogaerts deal, that now these guys are even more expensive than they were 4 days ago?
I think they will, not because they want to, but because obviously, like, there will probably be a team that's desperate out there, and the Cubs may be that team. Like, who knows? They may be the team that ends up feeling desperate and needing to get one of those shortstop. I know Jed said the other day that they still got to run their own race. They're not going to change their plans, but plans also change. Even if you don't want them to, like things happen. Xander Bogaerts signs for an 11-year. $280 million contract, and then you're left with two shortstops. So that is definitely a way that plans can change. It may end up being that, and I think that goes for all the guys that sign. Like, I feel like everyone that signed big contracts so far at the winter meetings, like, was above expectations. Like, Trey Turner above what he was kind of projected to get. Aaron Judge, I think that was, it may have been a little closer, but that was still definitely above what he was projected to get. Xander Bogaerts way above what he was projected to get. So it's not just the Cubs. It's any team that wants any of these guys is going to end up having to give up more than what they came in what they were expecting to have to give up 4 years ago, or 4 days ago. Like, that's where we're at. 4 days ago, things have changed quickly in 4 days, and that's just what happens at the winter meetings.
Ryan, I was curious, like, from your perspective on the beat and being around the beat writers and being there as just a fan, it's been really weird. Like, the 72-ish hours. Like, from Monday, we were getting all these, the Cubs are spending, they're in on everybody. Mark Feinsand is tweeting about them getting two shortstops, right? And, like, I feel like we're in a different world. Just a few days later, does it, when you're deep on the beat, do you have, like, a sense of that, or is it a completely kind of removed thing where it doesn't feel as, like, every report doesn't feel as, like, end of the world-ish or violently exciting. Like, how does it feel on a beat perspective when things are kind of changing this quickly narrative-wise?
I think from a beat perspective, it's a little different because as fans, you guys want to like have hope, right? You want the exciting ones to be the true ones, so you kind of grasp onto that. Whereas you're more like you're on the beat, you are maybe a little more pessimistic or just right down the middle, and you kind of like you see the reports and you're like, but you also understand that the reports change all the time. Like the Cubs have been in and out on different players all winter, but especially this week, and you've just seen it. They were all in on kind of Correa, according to some reports. Now Dansby Swanson, maybe their top target. They were, one of the favorites for Xander Bogaerts at some point in time. Like it changes so much. So on the beat, you pay attention to that kind of stuff, but you also know that just because, and it's not to say that the information, the national reporters get isn't valid. That's not saying that. It's just that the information changes all the time. And the Cubs don't have that much control over how the players and agents, what information players and agents give out either on the other side of that. So when you're on the beat, you kind of understand that as the information changes, you can't just completely run with one thing because that until you have something concrete, you have a signing, you have a Jameson Taillon signing, Cody Bellinger, you can't really run with it until that happens because things can change so quickly. And that's what you've seen this week. This week, things have changed so quickly over only 4 days. Like that, the winter things change because when it's just rumors, you don't know who's controlling those rumors, and so you kind of just have to be a little more pessimistic than normal because you don't want to just completely buy into a rumor that might change.
Right. What you're saying is they need to be flexible. You can't Matt Nagy the offseason. You have to be willing to adjust the game plan at halftime, right? Like. You have to move with the market. The Rangers and Padres and Mets are spending crazy amounts of money. Any normal human being can look at it and go, wow, those seem like crazy bad deals, but that's what the new market is.
Yeah.
So if that's what the market is, that's what you have to compete in. That's just the problem.
Yeah.
So if you thought this was a bad deal before, maybe today it's not a bad deal anymore. And Are there other ways the Cubs can make up for this at other positions? Is there any way to cover up if they miss on a shortstop? Because for me, the worst look for them would be not getting a shortstop and Correa goes back to another small market like Minnesota and you lost Bogaerts to San Diego. And what if somebody else goes to Atlanta? Those markets are not bigger than Chicago. So how can the Cubs, if they miss on shortstop, circle the wagons and fix it? Like what other moves are left?
Sign Carlos Rodon. You sign Carlos Rodon, like because you look at it, and one of the biggest holes on the roster that isn't fixing the up the middle defense and like the reason why Carlos Correa specifically was so intriguing and fit so well is because he checked so many boxes as far as shoring up the middle defense. Brings a power bat, but also a reliable bat. Like that's like checking like multiple boxes of what the Cubs needed, and that's why a guy like him or Bogaerts or Turner or even Swanson fit this team so well. You miss out on those guys. I think the other biggest hole on the roster is you don't have a frontline ace type starter. I think Marcus Stroman is a good number 2. I think Justin Steele could be a good number. I think you have a couple guys that could be number 2s. At their best, number 2s in a rotation, but you don't have that frontline ace. Set it and forget it. This is going to be your guy. Game 7 of the World Series, you're putting the ball in his hands, kind of pitcher. And so if you miss out, and you're missing out on those shortstops, like you're not reaching what they're asking for. Sometimes you have to change your plans. And Carlos Rodon is still out there, and his asking price is probably going to be really high too. But if you're not going to get one thing, this is your opportunity to maybe change gears and try to fill another pretty big hole. I mean, it may be too late. From everything we've heard is they're not in on Carlos Rodon. They weren't in that top tier pitcher market. Maybe Cody Senga is a guy that they could also try to go full force at and try to lock down. I know there's a couple other that like second-ish tier pitchers that they've been connected to. But when you look at it, it's like if you're not getting any of these shortstop, like Carlos Rodon is a guy to at least kick the tires on and see what it would take to get him.
I'm not saying that your point's not correct, Ryan. It just doesn't make sense to me why the Cubs wouldn't find a way to get a shortstop, but then go all in on Carlos Rodon when your up the middle defense is going to be sus with Nico Horner and Nick freaking Madrigal.
Hey,
you know.
Hey,
No.
don't say that around
Hey,
Ryan.
watch it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Don't say that
I didn't
around
mean
me for the other reason.
I didn't mean to offend the Short King Energy stands. Okay.
It has nothing to do with him being short.
He likes Madrigal.
Here's the way, and to respond to that a little bit, Cody. It's Carlos Rodon is a pitcher that you see what he does. You see he can reach upper 90s. Like, he's a guy that misses bats, and so up the middle defense is important. But it's not like he is a ground ball pitcher that needs that shortstop, that second baseman to be all over the infield. Like, he'll miss a lot of bats. And that's why he's an ace. That's why he's a guy that you set it and forget it, and you try to figure out the defense behind him later, because he's a guy that can get strikeouts, can get whiffs, will get pop-ups, that kind of stuff. Whereas you have a lot of ground ball, but I get what you're saying, because you do have a lot of ground ball pitchers on the Cubs in Marcus Stroman. Justin Steele got a lot of ground balls. Kyle Hendricks, when he's Kyle Hendricks, is getting a ton of ground balls. So you do like that. That is a reason why that shortstop is probably the number one priority heading in. Right. But what I'm saying is, if you're going to strike out and you're not going to get either of those two guys, it wouldn't hurt to change gears and just at least kick the tires on Rodon and just see what it would take. It may be another case where his asking price is too high and the Cubs want to go a tier lower. But I guess it's late in the process, but I don't see, why kicking the tires on that would be a bad thing.
Fair. And I'm sorry to people in the chat who like Madrigal. I like Madrigal. If you've watched the show, I've believed in him. The only thing that
he's just not Carlos Correa.
Well, yeah, he's not Carlos Correa, and also he can't stay on the field, man. If he could stay on the field, if he could play 150 games or even 140 games, if he had played 140 games last season, I don't think we'd be like begging for a shortstop. If he had played 140 games and played like he did in August the entire year last year, we probably wouldn't even be like all in on a shortstop right now. We'd probably be wanting third baseman. Maybe we would be for them to play third base or something like that. I don't know, but I'm just saying that he is a big reason why we are in this market right now for a shortstop, because he didn't prove anything last year. So that's all I'm saying. But again, you make a lot of good points, and I agree. Rodon definitely would be the next step after, if they don't get a shortstop.
Yeah,
so
and that's not saying he wants to come to Chicago at all.
Right.
That's completely not. No, I'm not reporting anything like that. I have no idea if he even wants.
It would
to
just be like
again.
the next big step or the next big name.
Yeah, it's just logical. It's just logical to see what the asking price is there. It makes too much sense to me. Even if you're not serious about going at him anymore, like you kind of been out of the rumor mill for Carlos Correa for a while, or Carlos Rodon for a while. It wouldn't hurt to go back in there and just see, reach out and see what the asking price is there, because you're not going to get one of the other guys. And this is all contingent on if they miss one of these shortstops. That should be another part of the plan.
You know what it'd be a solid offseason would be Dansby Swanson at short. Nico moves over to second. You add Rodon and Tyone to your rotation. Okay, now I'm taking it all back. You may not have gotten
and a catcher.
Okay.
Vasquez.
Maybe it's Vasquez,
sure.
But that would greatly improve your team.
Sure.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the game isn't over for the Cubs.
No.
It's just getting late, and you need a home run, and you don't have home run hitters at the moment. It doesn't look good, but there are ways to still save this and make it a really, really good offseason. Maybe even a great offseason.
But I know we've been talking about Correa this entire time,
yes.
But with the Bogaerts signing, it even increases Swanson's market. And now
Yes,
you're going to
that's
have
what
to
I'm saying.
you're going to have to pay
Yes.
Swanson more than he probably deserves.
But do it before his wedding then. If you don't think you're getting Correa, then give all your money to Swanson.
That's I think
I'm with you. I agree. I just
If you think Correa is 50-50, if you think Correa is 50-50, then up the money for Swanson and say, all right, you're our guy, and we're gonna go this way. We're gonna go great defensively. We'll add another starting pitcher. We'll add either Senga or Rodon, and we'll move forward. Yeah. I'd be okay with that.
I think a lot of today, and in the chat and Twitter, etc., it's just a concern when you see the Bogaerts contract come in yesterday. like, and Ryan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like I looked through a lot of predictions. No one was close on the years or the money. I remember early in the offseason, you would have thought that Bogaerts and Swanson maybe were the guys you could get on less years. That's why a lot of people were like, well, maybe that's the way Jed will go. The reason that there's so much angst today, even with a long runway of offseason and 2 shortstops still to go, is that is just a reflection that Jed is going to have to do something that he is on record as being horribly uncomfortable with. Like Bogaerts getting probably 4 more years than anybody out there predicted, and at least $100 million probably extra, right? Like that, as you said, it makes you wonder, like, is Dansby even affordable, which people thought, to what Jed wants to do? It's a little concerning, and Jed typically operates kind of quietly. Maybe they do something, they make a decision, but it's just you see what happened yesterday and you go, man, like maybe these teams are just going to get crazy, and Jed isn't going to want to get crazy, which is going to leave him trying to build a team and being happy about his long-term contract stability, which is not. I don't know. I mean, I don't know about you, but like, do you go to games and think about contract length and flexibility? I don't. Right? I just want them. I just want them to win baseball games. So
only when you saw Hayward, but got to get over it.
And that's like the Cubs' fault, though. Like, they've made us feel like this because they've acted like they had PTSD since the Hayward contract.
And I was how small that contract looks now in baseball,
right?
So that's how these are going to look in 5 years.
I was having this conversation with my girlfriend when she was driving me here today because I was telling her that Jason Hayward signed with the Dodgers on a minor league deal, and I said, like, that's how bad it was at the end. And then she looked at me, and she's casual, right? She doesn't follow the team like we do. And she's like, oh, well, he won a bunch of Gold Gloves. Like, he was good. Like, and I'm like, yeah, but like his offense really just like it made the Cubs it made the Cubs act in a certain way that they shouldn't be acting in. And if he had continued hitting after the huge year he had with the Cardinals, I think in an alternate universe, perhaps the Cubs are probably still spinning, and maybe Rizzo and Brian are still here. You know, he might have opted out. Like,
for very long.
I feel like the Cubs, like if he would have hit, then like the Cubs wouldn't have this PTSD over a stupid contract that, like Luke said, is like nothing compared to like what guys are getting now. I mean, he at most he made like $25 million a year, and again, like for what he gave us, it wasn't worth it. But still, like we keep saying, every year it's going up. And let Correa. It's just so annoying that the Cubs are acting like this.
Give Correa his $375 million. Give him the top floor at the Zachary, or give it to Dansby Swanson as a wedding gift. It doesn't matter. One of those two has to happen. Ryan, did you get a donut? That's the last thing I wanted to ask you. Like, did you go to my donut bar?
I have not. That's the goal. Once we leave here, I got a lot of time until my flight heads back to Chicago.
Yeah, but what time is it? Well, it's noon there. They're running out of the good stuff.
Listen to Stuckey.
That's how we started. By the way, that's been declared on the show. Always listen to me, Ryan. I know you're in San Diego, but I tried to tell these guys, once Judge goes off the board, the price is going up for everybody, and that's what we're looking at. So they're going to have to fix this, please. I want an emergency podcast so bad for this team.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a Cody Bellinger 1 year, $17.5 million deal. That Bellinger deal needs to be like the fourth best move they make this offseason, if they're really going to compete. And again, signing Carlos Correa or Dansby Swanson now, you cannot think, well, the Cubs aren't ready to win the World Series. No, so why would they spend? Again, you're building the foundation for the young guys coming in. You can't wait too long to do it. You can't wait too long to do it because you're never going to get free agents to come unless you overpay the first guy or you have an in with the guy like you had with John Lester. In this case, you're going to have to overspend.
If you're a lot of players away from competing, the best way to get closer to competing is to lessen the number of players you are away from competing. It's a pretty simple formula, right? And if you're not going to spend on them, where are they coming from, right? You're going to bank on all 10 of your top prospects hitting and being all-stars? Good luck with that. Let me know how that works out.
You can't be outbid by San Diego, Texas, smaller market cities. You can't let the Padres push you around like they're the Dodgers. Stop it.
Yeah, I think Joe is right in the chat. Ready to win is an excuse. Get better all the time. Absolutely. There's no reason not to.
That said, I mean, if I'm a Red Sox fan today, they probably feel worse than we do.
They
There's any
do.
spin zone.
But they could go spend money on Correa now if they
Well, if
wanted
they're not
to.
going to give if they weren't going to spend that much for
Maybe they think
Bogaerts.
Correa is
Their guy.
that
Well,
much
and
better.
I mean, the Red Sox
Bogaerts
have
was
led.
their guy.
Maybe they take Dansby off the market.
The Red Sox have let
Maybe.
Bogaerts and
Mookie Betts go. And they got to find a way to pay Rafael Devers.
We didn't talk about this, but I do kind of want to get Ryan's thought. I mean, I'm sure you can't say even if you did, but like, did you see Adbert Alzolai's cryptic little tweet there?
I did not see it. What?
He posted
I'm
the
unaware.
Stephen A. like shaking my head GIF. What do you
with
think about
no
that?
explanation or anything?
We got
with
the beat
it.
writer
just
here.
the-
What
Just
do we
Stephen
think
A.
about
Smith
it?
going.
You've got me. I couldn't.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you what he's shaking his head about.
Okay.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
We'll see.
Us neither.
Yeah.
Figured I ask.
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out, right? Maybe spring training we'll get an idea.
All right, thanks, Ryan. Again, donut bar. Don't wait too long. They're going to be out of all the good donuts.
Sounds good. I'll find it.
What do you have coming for us? I know, obviously, if something happens, you're going to write it from there, and it'll be all CHGO.com. You going to write about Cam Sanders? Hey, they kept Cam Sanders.
Yeah.
He didn't go in the Rule 5 draft. Like that was
They
good
kept
news.
a
There's
lot
some
of
good
big
news,
win of
right?
the winter meetings.
We win there.
They kept a few guys and off that were off the 4-year man, not protected, that ended up not being taken. That I thought there would be a couple that definitely had a good shot. The 2 that got taken, I wasn't even really on my radar. As far as like those are going to be guys that get taken in the Rule 5 draft. So yeah, good for the Cubs. They protected the right guys, and they were able to keep the ones that they didn't protect.
Sounds good. Ryan, been doing great work with the Phoenix guys, the Denver guys, and, of course, all stuff at allchgo.com. You can also follow him on Twitter, Ryan_A_Herrera, and hopefully he's bringing back some donuts when he comes. Oh, no, it'll be too long.
Yeah.
They'll be stale. They'll be stale by then before the time we see Ryan again. But safe travels to him. DraftKings, Cody.
You know what's going to make me feel better, guys?
Winning a bet.
Betting on
parlays.
When I win number 2 of my $10 to $1,000 challenge that we will be writing, or I will be announcing on CHGO Bets Daily at 3:30 today. That will make me feel better because at least I'm making some freaking money. And maybe I'll donate it to the Cubs so they can spend some freaking money, whatever. This time of year, everyone's excited about the gifts, the holiday spirit. But what about all the basketball? I feel that, When I throw down on the NBA action, it's got to be with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers can bet just $5 pregame money line on any NBA team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Plus, everyone can combine multiple bets for a bigger payout with DraftKings same-game parlays. I won a parlay on Sunday. It was I can't remember what it was, but I'm telling you, it was nice to win one. It wasn't a huge one, but again, nice to win one. Also, Maryland sports fan. Any Cubs fans from Maryland in there? Well, sports betting is now legal in Maryland. God bless, because before that, I could not imagine living in Maryland. DraftKings Sportsbook is now live in Maryland. Download the app now and get in on the Holiday Hoops action. Sign up with code CHGO. Place a $5 pregame moneyline bet on any NBA team to win and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code CHGO. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. And when you place your bets, you can put your Shady Rays on when you go and look at the loss column.
That's right. And if the Cubs don't sign anybody, we can hide our shame with our Shady Rays even.
That's fair,
and
too.
you'll still look like you're a vibe. Shady Rays, they never understood why sunglasses were so expensive. They set out to change it. You don't have to break the bank for quality sunglasses because our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades featuring world-class optical clarity, substantial durability, and styles cater to everyone and every lifestyle. And the best part about Shady Rays, they have this insane protection program on all their eyewear. Lost and broken replacements. That's right. If you lose or break your shades, even on day one, They told us they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Drop them in a lake, get a new pair. Off a cliff skiing, get a new pair. Step on them because the Cubs haven't made a move, get a new pair. They will replace them. Even with that strong of a protection program, they still manage to make quality that I can tell you, holding them in my hand, just as good as any expensive pair I've ever worn. Shady Rays customers seem to agree with over 200,000 five-star reviews. And Shady Rays also provides 10 meals to fight hunger in America with every order placed and have donated more than 20 million meals to date. They stand behind their product, told our team that if anybody has a problem, they will throw profit out the window and simply do what it takes to get it right. Free returns, free exchanges. You either love your shades or Shady Rays will pay to ship them back. That's it. Exclusive for our listeners right now, Shady Rays running their deepest deal of the season using the code CHGO. Again, the code is CHGO. 50% off 2 or more pairs at shadyrays.com. Buy one, get one free. BOGO, baby. You can get 2 pairs as low as $54. Redeemed only at shadyrays.com, where you can find all their newest and best shades. I got to tell you, the chat, I don't know how many people we've had on there so far today, but
I saw we were nearly 300 at one point.
Yeah, the people are excited, and they're excited over the fact that nothing's happened. I should say angry, most likely. And that Collada is here.
Collada is finally
I knew
arrived.
he'd get here. I am the only Cub fan that knows Ricketts won't spend. You guys are fooling yourself. He's freaking cheap. Here's what happens. If the Cubs don't get one of the shortstops, right? If they don't get one of the shortstops and they don't go all in on Rodon, Senga, if they don't make some major moves after that this offseason, if this offseason has less splash than last offseason, then we all need to go to our friends at Obvious Shirts and say, the new shirt we need made specifically for us is, well, we could make the same shirt, but you have to sell a lot of them. The shirt should say, I'm sorry, Collada was right.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Collada was right.
Yeah.
Very niche.
I think you go to they have a T-shirt bar. I still have that in Wicker Park too. They'd make one too that said that. T-shirt Deli was the name of the place. I don't know if it's still there.
I will personally wear that shirt on this set at least once a week throughout all of next season. I would personally wear that at least one time a week.
We're going to go back over to Winter Wonderland or whatever. You know how uncomfortable that's going to be if they don't sign a shortstop?
I'm going there tonight with my girlfriend. Me and her. Well, over the weekend we went with her family. Now it's just me and her.
Wow. Now, see, this is a date night that can't be canceled. This is dedication to his girlfriend because you're giving your money to the Cubs when they're not spending it yet.
Maybe
that's the hard part to swallow. You're going to be skating around on that rink going, I can't believe they haven't signed a shortstop yet.
I'm going to get that baked cheese. Whatever.
It's crazy. Like like you were saying, Corey, I can't believe the narrative has switched this quickly. Maybe we should be blaming Feinsand, not Ricketts and Jed and the Cubs and our own. Feinsand's the one that threw out there they might get 2, and because we're so eager and so anxious, we were all gobbling it up like
when the Bogaerts news hit last night. I went to the tweet that I quote tweeted of the Feinsand tweet and replied to my own tweet saying, "This is a top 5 most painful moment of 2022." Like this, me having to read this, knowing what's happened now. So,
what's more likely to happen? Hayward goes back and hits 300 with the Dodgers next year, makes the team and hits 300, or Wilson Contreras plays with the Cardinals in the World Series. Not saying that either guy is
say that one more
either
time.
move is wrong. Do you think it's more likely that Contreras would go to the World Series with the Cardinals, or Jason Hayward would hit 300 with the Dodgers?
Jason Hayward would hit 300 with the Dodgers.
No, I think it's easily the former.
It's probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, it's going to be something.
Well, yeah, I switched my pick now. That way I'm putting it into existence that I think that they're going to win again, and we know what happens when I say things. I'm usually wrong. So
Joe says Hayward or Contreras win the NL MVP next year. Book it. That's a bet I will not take.
Look, all the best to Jason Hayward, but I'm not worried about that.
I just want to go back over these because this is going to drive me crazy.
It wouldn't surprise me if Hayward though got back to being like an average hitter.
I just want to.
Then the Dodgers are miracle workers.
Because he's with the Dodgers. Yeah. That's only it. The Dodgers have fixed so many dudes over the last decade. Wouldn't surprise me.
I know we're past 2 minutes. I just want to remind one more time why this needs to happen. Again, the Padres, the lowly San Diego a city of San Diego size compared to ours, and we're the number one team in town. Tatis, $340 million. Machado, $300 million. Bogaerts, $280 million. They got Juan Soto. They got Yu Darvish. Then you go to the Phillies. They've spent $1 billion since they signed that deal for Bryce Harper. The Cubs don't have a $100 million player left. Nobody on a $100 million deal. You have to overspend. Make it happen. I don't care which shortstop it is. You have to overspend and get it done.
Yeah. I'm with Niren. How many people in San Diego even care? It's sunny and 75 every day.
Don't. They're living off their 401ks at this point.
It's brutal, man. This is absolutely brutal. And again, if the Cubs sign a shortstop between the moment this show ends and our show on
Monday,
then
we'll delete this podcast so the Cubs never see it, and then we'll run the emergency podcast.
This show was all about airing out grievances because at the end of the day, the Cubs could have definitely got Correa for a better price than last offseason. No matter whether he was going to wait until Judge was signed this year, at the winter meetings, if no matter what, they still could have had him cheaper last offseason, and they just didn't do it. And now they're gonna have to pay more. And you know what? That's fine with me. It's not my money, like we keep saying, but is that okay with the Cubs? That's the big question. That's what we all are wondering. And if they care about their fans the way they say they do, and if they care about winning, they will do whatever it fucking takes. Thank you. Good night.
We have to go. The Blackhawks guys want to talk about another rebuild in town. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook. We'll see you for that emergency podcast when they finally sign a shortstop. Fly the W.